Hey everyone! So this week we were talking underrated books, and until I watched Lauren's and Harmony's videos, I didn't even think that there's a very big difference between underrated books in the blogging world and underrated books in the real world. So I'm going to kind of do a little bit of both here, just because I know bloggers know a lot more about books than regular readers. I'm basing this on my friends because there are a lot of books that I love that they have never even heard of. So they may not be underrated to your friends, I don't know, but this is just based on my observations. So first off, I just want to say that I completely and totally agree with Lauren's mention of The Near Witch by Victoria Schwab and Harmony's mention of both of Reeves' books. So The Near Witch was one of my favorites of last year, and there's just so much I love about it. The setting is gorgeous. The writing is so amazing. The characters are some of my favorites, and it's just so unique. I honestly have not read anything like The Near Witch, and so that's what made it stand out to me. And I was just so surprised that other people just didn't jump on this bandwagon. So definitely check that one out, and Lauren talks a little bit more about that one in her video, so go check that one out. And then Diaries is a hard one to recommend because a lot of my friends don't handle like creepy stuff as well as I do, and I'm saying this as a complete and total scaredy cat. I can't handle creepy stuff a whole lot. But both Bleeding Violet and Slice of Cherry are what I would classify as horror stories, and it's just because of a lot of the stuff that goes on in them. Slice of Cherry is about two serial killer sisters who like take people into their basement and torture them. So yeah, definitely really creepy. But more than creepy, they are very bizarre. Just the things that go on in this town are insane. Both books are set in the town of Portero, Texas, which is an imaginary town, obviously. And they do kind of go together. Bleeding Violet is technically first and Slice of Cherry is second, and the characters from Bleeding Violet do pop up in Slice of Cherry. So I would recommend reading those in the correct order if you do plan on reading them, and I would recommend them for Halloween coming up. But once again, Harmony talks more about them in her video, so you can find out more there. So personally, my own underrated books. First up is just really this whole series by Katie Allender, and this one is From Bad to Curse, which is the second book. The first book is Bad Girls Don't Die, and the third book, which just recently came out, is called As Dead as It Gets. And back when I first started blogging was when Bad Girls Don't Die was set to come out. And before it was released, this was back before bloggers got a ton of advanced copies, people were dying to get their hands on it, and I know I was so eager to read it. And then it actually came out, and things just kind of fizzled. I didn't see a whole lot about it, and then as the sequel came out last year, and the final book came out this year, I really haven't seen anything. So I really liked the story. I read the first two, I haven't read the final one yet. I liked the writing. The story is a ghost story. It's a little creepy. There's a scene with a doll. I don't like dolls, but it definitely fits with the story. The whole thing is really about a doll in the first book. And then I really just liked the characters, and how the first book, at least, is about this girl trying to save her sister from this ghost who's like trying to possess her. So really interesting story in my opinion. And once again, Halloween is coming up, so read the ghost stories. They're creepy. If you can't tell from, like, look at this girl's face. That's creepy. So that would be what I consider underrated, and I know none of my friends have ever even heard of those books, which makes me sad. Then this next one is really just this author. Both of these series from Suzanne Young, A Once So Wicked, which is the sequel to Anita Beautiful, and So Many Boys, which is the sequel to The Naughty List. This one is the first series she published, and she actually only published the two books. The third book was set to come out in November 2010, and it never did, just because the first two books just didn't sell very well. And I was so sad about that because they're some of my favorite books just to read for fun. They're really clever, the characters are really good, the writing is not the greatest, but it's good, and it's just one of those laugh out loud funny books that I like to read over and over again. And then she completely branched off on a whole new direction with Need So Beautiful and A Once So Wicked, and I adored these books. They are some of my all-time favorites, and I will recommend them to everybody. But A Need So Beautiful is about a girl named Charlotte who gets these things called needs, or what she calls needs, and it's kind of this urge to help people, whether it be seeing something that's going to happen to them and preventing it, or just telling them something they need to know. And then every time she listens to these needs and she completes them, she starts to disappear more, and people start to forget about her, and she is one of the forgotten. And it's just such an interesting thing. And what makes it even better is that her writing has completely changed since the naughty list, and it's just evolved, and it's so much better. And there's a very, very hot boy, which I know is bad to like a book for that reason, but there is. He's one of the best guys in YA fiction, in my opinion. Harlan is his name, by the way, which that alone is sexy. And this next one is Shadowcry by Jenna Burtenshaw. And I'm thinking this one could become popular now, even though it came out July of last year. It's dystopian fantasy, which is kind of becoming a genre that's taking off now. So we'll see if this goes anywhere. And this is, I read it recently. It's a UK release originally, and it may have gotten more buzz over there than it did here, but I didn't know anything about it here, and I got the sequel. So I decided I would just read the first one, and I loved it. I sat down and I read it in like 2 hours. It was just impossible to put down. The writing is awesome. It's the best thing about this book, in my opinion. The setting is a close second. The world is just, it's a really unique world. It's a really pretty world, even in its destruction. And the characters are kind of lacking, but I'm hoping that changes in the sequel. But really, this one I would read for the writing alone. And then last but not least, I could see this one taking off too, Mothership by Leicht and Isla Neal. I'm seeing more bloggers reading this one, and it's one of the funniest books I've ever read, about a teenage girl who gets pregnant, and her father sends her to the Hanover School for Expecting Teen Mothers, which is a cruise liner in space. And they are taken over by these invaders, one of whom happens to be the girl's baby daddy. And there are aliens involved and just crazy things. And it is funny, but it's also, it has a great heroine. She's really, really brave. And I like that mixed in with the humor. And the romance is kind of sweet. And the characters are just such a good mix. And honestly, this is going to be one of my favorite books, and I can't wait for the sequel. So I hope that I see more people reading that one, even though I think the subject matter, people are kind of like, really, what? But don't do that. Just read it. So those are my underrated books. Sorry, I tend to ramble when it comes to books that I love. And I would love to know what you guys think are some underrated books, because I'm really interested in reading some more books that have flown under the radar so far. I've already added Lauren's and Harmony's books to my list, and yeah, so hope you guys have a great rest of the week and weekend, and I'll see you next week.